Hello. Hope you're doing well today. Jim Laird joining you live from Dirioma, Nicaragua. Let me get Instagram going here. Hope you're doing well today. We're live on Instagram. Today's topic, we're going to jump right into it. Overcoming women's fears and myths about strength training. This is really interesting because, I also have this video streaming live on the men's channel today, the Vitality Brotherhood as well, mainly because there's a lot of guys out there who would like to get their lady in the weight room. I think it's actually gone the other way around. Towards the end of my career, there was women that I was training that were trying to get their guy to get in the weight room. It's definitely a lot different than when I started working with women in the late '90s, where there was no women in the weight room, and now there's a lot of weight rooms where it's mostly women. But we're going to talk about it today, and we're going to talk about these myths that still are prevalent. And that being said, when you're done with this video, whether you're a coach or a lady or whoever you are, I'm going to give you basically an overview of how I approach training women. And let's talk about, who am I and why would you want to even listen to what I have to say? I've been a strength and conditioning coach for almost 30 years now. And let's check out, I essentially have made my, career basically training women. Oops, that's not the one I want to look at. So let's look at my Instagram page. You can go check this out if you want. This is like a group of my ladies that were on my lifting team. We were out throwing axes and I won. So it was good to be king. But all these women competed in powerlifting. None of them in this picture came to me to actually compete in powerlifting. They all came to me because they weren't really happy with what they were doing as far as fitness is concerned. And we kind of tricked them into weightlifting, and then they kind of fell in love with powerlifting. And here's a really interesting picture. So this is let's see, 6 ladies and me, and I'm about 275 in this picture, about 25 pounds heavier than I am right now. You can see it in my fat round face there. But every one of these women have pulled over 300 pounds at a powerlifting meet. And only this one here, the taller one, Megan, she's the only one that came to me actually to get help with powerlifting. She had injured herself and we were able to rehab her and get her back. And she got some big old PRs. But these two right here, when they first came to me, they were both doing like this one was a runner and she was very skinny. And this one was a runner and she was very skinny. And so not all the women come to me that want to, like this one over here, Suzanne was a marathon runner. Rachel was training twice a day and gaining weight, and we got her strength training and we got her to take better care of herself, and they were able to lean out. And then Suzanne had a dramatic transformation from switching from marathon running to strength training. And Stash here did very well as well. Not all of the women that have come to me, specifically, their goal was not just to lose weight. Some women that are particularly on the thin side end up filling out, so to speak, and looking much, much better. But most of the women that have come to me over the years, they're not happy aesthetically with where they are. More women are starting to realize now that they need to strength train to kind of slow the aging process down. And more people are celebrating women just getting stronger, regardless of shape or size, and becoming the best version of themselves. And it's cool because none of these women, like if you look at these women, none of these women you'd say, oh, they're big and bulky, or they're big weightlifters or anything like that. So all these women have pulled over 300 pounds at a full powerlifting meet, which I think is pretty cool. Here it is. This is me, with 6 beautiful women. Every woman in this photo has deadlifted over 600 pounds at a powerlifting meet. And none of these women, except for Megan, came to me in the beginning. She wasn't happy with her body composition. I think she was struggling with some back issues. She just wasn't happy. I think Rebecca brought her in. She wasn't happy with how her training was going. They both fell in love with lifting weights. They still are lifting weights. And then she was burned out and not doing real well and not happy with her body composition. So we were able to help them with that. And then, of course, my Jim Laird page. Let me see here. Stop screen. And you can go and look at my Jim Laird. Never, ever basically name a business after yourself. Not a good idea. When you go to sell it, it's not going to end well for you. But this is my Jim Laird page. This is like me and like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I guess we can include Coach Emily. 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 women at a powerlifting meet. When you walk into a powerlifting meet with 15 women, this is all different shapes, sizes, ages. It's pretty fun. So that was that. And then of course here we got another one. We got some tall ladies here. Like, I'm 5'10", maybe 5'10 and a half. And we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think Beth's taller than me too. Yeah, so 5, 6 women there that are taller than I am. So you walk into a powerlifting meet, and this is back in the day when this was still before it was really popular. Now you go to a powerlifting meet, it's all women. So as you can see, I am really good at tricking women into lifting weights. So there you go. You can go check that out. You can go check out my Jim Laird strength and conditioning page if you want. There's a bunch of reviews and such and such and such. So let's talk about why women are so afraid to lift weights. And it's way better than it used to be. But the number one, of course, is the big and bulky thing. Women are scared to death of getting too muscular, too big and bulky. And of course, for those of us that have been in the strength game for a long time, we know how difficult it is for men in general, beyond the beginner phase, to put on muscle mass. But the worst thing you can do when a woman is afraid of getting bulky is tell her that she's lost her mind. That there's no way she's going to get bulky, because she needs to express that to you, and you need to say, I understand your concern. And the way we're going to deal with that is we're going to make sure that we have, we're going to make sure your diet's in order, that you're not over consuming food. And then 2, I'm going to strength train. We're not going to do hypertrophy training. So our main movements are going to be between 5 and 3 on the main movements. We're going to focus on strength. We're going to do some athletic stuff. And then we're going to work on the areas that you do want to, like, your butt and your hamstrings, where you want them to be a little bigger. Those are the exercises we're going to do between 8 and 12 reps to actually add size, so to speak. Unless you're here in South America and Latin America, when they want to get their legs and butt as big as possible, then it's easy. But really, for me, it wasn't that big a deal, because most of the women that I train, the reason women would come to me is because of people that I was training. They would see somebody that I trained, and they would see them change in like 4 to 6 months and be like, wow, you've made a big trend. I want arms like yours, or I want shoulders like yours. And they would say, well, I go to Jim Laird, and I train twice, 2 to 3 times a week, and we lift weights. And oh, really? And then they come see me. So the other ladies would help educate these women on, like, don't worry, just follow the process, lift weights. You're not going to get massive. And then of course, the women that were serious, that really wanted to put on muscle mass, they would figure out really quickly that it's not easy. It's not easy to put on muscle mass, especially for females. They just don't have the hormones that men do. So that's the first part, is 1, listen. Yes, I understand you feel that way. But we have steps in place that we can adjust exercises. We can focus on, addressing other things other than hypertrophy. We can do strength work. But most women, once they start lifting weights and they start feeling stronger, they start feeling more empowered, that becomes less of a concern. And a lot of times, women in particular, they have a tendency to associate leanness with big. I had one lady that I trained for 20 years, and she started off as a runner. We got her lifting, incredible athlete, water skier. She dropped several clothing sizes, and all her friends were like, you're getting too big. And it was because she was getting leaner. And she actually dropped 2 clothing sizes, and they told her she was getting bulky, which was actually smaller. And so she was leaner. She wasn't ridiculously shredded or anything, but she was leaner, and they associate being lean. Like, people will tell me, like, oh, I got this friend, he's so jacked. And then I'll meet him, or I'll meet them, and it's like, the dude's 180 pounds, but he's ripped. So he looks, to a woman, ripped means big and jacked, right? Whereas I'm 255. I'm fairly lean, but I'm not ripped. They would associate a guy that's a lot smaller, that's totally shredded, with being bigger than me or having more muscle than me because he's leaner, right? So that's just in their mind. It just kind of operates like that, right? So the second big fear is the fear of like, I don't think this is as valid as it used to be, but a lot of women would be intimidated to go in the weight room. And now I think it's kind of the opposite. I think a lot of guys, because the younger women are really empowered and they're getting in the weight room. I love it. But last time I was in Tampa, going the weight, every squat rack was a woman. Hip thrusting, deadlifting, doing all the things. But I still think the older ladies, 40 plus, are very afraid to go in the weight room. They're afraid they're going to be embarrassed, or they just don't feel comfortable in there. And that's why I had my gym, essentially, because I kind of killed that. I kind of created that environment where women could come in and they didn't have to worry about being, feeling intimidated or getting looked, frowned upon or anything like that. So, there's plenty of studios out there that cater to women. So if you're a lady who's, intimidated by that, there's plenty of great places out there, great studios now where you'll be able to do better. And I think guys have gotten better, more or less, of understanding that women are in the weight room. And like, at least I know for me, when I go to the weight room, it's a lot more inviting environment than it used to be, like say in the 90s. Right. So it's better than it used to be. There's definitely a lot more options than there was before. But especially if you go to a good studio, like my community was great, very welcoming. That really, really, really helps matters a lot. And then you got places like, if you're a woman and you really feel intimidated, like as much as I dislike Planet Fitness, there's less of the meathead culture there. So there's more women there. It tends to be a little better environment for most women to start, or for, so if you go to a country club or something like that, it's just kind of one of those things. So that's something we can address with that. The last one is the injury factor. Women think that the strength training is dangerous. If you actually look at the statistics, distance running has a much higher injury rate than strength training does. So that's that. But I think there is some validity there, because a lot of coaches really don't do a good job training beginners. They start people off way too advanced. They throw a bar on their back way too early. I'm going to talk about basically my formula for training women here in a second, but that's a big part of it. Guys will load women up way too soon, way too quickly. They won't ease them in. They won't teach them, proper bracing skills, and they'll just kind of load them up and get them on the way and push them a little too quickly, too fast. Most people don't realize that in the beginning, you don't have to do much at all to get better. And so you want to make it. I know when I'm training a woman, I know I'm doing a really good job when she's coming back to me and saying, "Hey, I need to do a little more. That wasn't heavy enough." Or, I know I'm doing well when she's asking me, like, "I feel confident with this. Let's go to the next level." Like, I know I'm doing a good job. Because there's nothing worse than, like, some women will want you to, like, wreck them as far as like soreness and stuff like that, but not very often. Most women, they want to feel challenged. They aren't going to be happy if they can't walk for or can't sit on the toilet, for a couple days. Like, that's not gonna, dudes, that's a badge of honor. Most women, that's not the case. So here's my formula kind of for working with women. One, I train them more like an athlete, unless they're specifically training for a powerlifting meet. So I do some sort of dynamic warm-up. Think Parisi warm-up. If you look on the internet, there's something called a Parisi warm-up, which is a ground-based warm-up that Bill Parisi, the Parisi School of Strength and Speed, would use. It involved like a lot of ground-based stuff, fire hydrants, glute bridges. Also, I would do a modified version of that. Maybe a little Airdyne, maybe a little maybe a little VersaClimber to warm up, depending on the age of the person. Med ball throws, athletic stuff, teaching new skills, teaching how to hinge, teaching, it depends on the person. But generally the first 10 to 15 minutes is athletic and movement-based and movement prep-based, okay? Then we get into actual lifting, generally 2 to 3 times a week. We would generally do full body workouts, One day would be a lower body dominant. I love like a 5-3-1 type template. I might not use traditional squat. I might use a belt squat. I might use a kettlebell. I might use a safety squat bar. I might use a Zercher squat. I'm probably not going to use, unless I'm getting a woman ready for a powerlifting meet, I'm probably not going to use a straight bar on the back. Probably not. I mean, especially when they're a beginner. When you're a beginner, body weight stuff is going to get you better, and then you move on from there. But generally, it would be a lower body emphasis. We'd still do upper body. So like in between, like say we're doing goblet squats. In between, we do some push-ups or something like that in between the sets, push-ups on the Smith machine. Maybe we do some bear crawls or something like that. We'd give them plenty of rest in between. And then we're doing step ups, and maybe we're doing a pull down, right? And then we're doing, and then we're doing like maybe some sort of back extension or some sort of single leg hip thrust. And we're pairing that with like an arm bar or something like that. And then, day 2 is going to be an upper body emphasis. So maybe we're actually bench pressing, or maybe we're doing some hammer strength presses or something like that, and we're pairing that with a one arm row because we did pull downs on the last workout. And then maybe we're going to do some body weight alternate lunges, nothing heavy, but we're just going to do some alternate body weight lunges. And then we're going to do some, we're going to do some shoulder work. And then maybe we're going to do a circuit of like abs, curls, mountain climber taps, something like that. So it's still an upper body emphasis with a little bit of lower body thrown in. And then the third day, generally I love athletic stuff, throwing med balls. Maybe we'll run some short sprints if I have someone who's capable of that. We're going to do some like walk the line. Maybe we'll do some skaters, jumping side to side. We'll drag some sleds. We'll push some sleds. We'll throw some medicine balls, something like that. Unless we're getting a woman ready for a powerlifting meet, then it would be like Monday squat paired with a little bit of upper body with accessory work. Wednesday bench press paired with a little bit of lower body work. And then Friday would be deadlift. It would be either a heavy deadlift or a lighter deadlift, depending on what the squat. If the squat day was heavier, like we were doing 3s on Monday, we would do, either singles with a lighter weight or sets of 5 on Friday. We would just kind of mix it up. So that's basically how I would do that, and so like that's basically how I would alternate it. But I like a 5-3-1 type template, or a West Side for Skinny Bastards template was a great template as well. Joe DeFranco. We can modify that, but generally every workout's a full body workout. And I've had plenty of women do really well twice a week. I've had plenty of women do well, 3 times a week. So that's generally how I set it up. In the beginning, body weight is great. Sets of 10 on compound things. If we're teaching someone, generally we're going to do things like kettlebell deadlift in the beginning. We're going to do things like box squats. We're going to do things, get to people moving around. We're going to push sleds. We're going to do carries. We're going to do all these things to build capacity and build resilience and all that stuff. And so if you would like more information on this stuff and how I kind of approach things, and I'm going to really focus on lifestyle. Like the big thing I've learned over the years is most people, they really struggle with the hours outside the gym. A lot of people will work really hard. They'll train hard. They might not be doing stuff that's going to push them in the direction of their goal, but really they kind of like neglect the self-care. They neglect the sleep. They don't get outside. They don't manage their stress well. That's really like, I'm constantly hammering on that over and over and over again. So if you're a woman, you're out there, you need to strength train. You have no idea where to start. The Vitality Sisterhood link is in the description. Just go to vitalitysisterhood.com. If you are on Instagram, you can type sisterhood in the chat and join the group. We've got all sorts of great ladies in there. Love to have you in there. It's 100% free. We do a Q&A every week. We have all sorts of, we're putting exercises in there. We've got dietary tips. We've got all sorts of stuff that you can get involved in, and accountability is where it's at. So I'm happy to help. I also have a basically, I call it the Vitality Reset, which is like essentially, it's like a beginner strength training course. But like, if you look at like Suzanne that came to me, or some of the other girls that came to me, they were already training. They just were doing stuff that wasn't getting them what they wanted. It wasn't giving the results that they wanted. So they needed a version of strength training to give them that athletic physique that they wanted. Right. So my job is to basically start where you are and then help put the things in front of you that are going to get you where you want to go, and then keep you accountable on the lifestyle stuff. Because the lifestyle stuff is really what's most important, particularly for women. Women today have, so many different things pulling them in different directions. The sleep, the rest, the relaxing, that's something that women need a little bit more of. They don't need to become a Buddhist monk, but most of the women that come to me that are really struggling, they really struggle with like shutting off and relaxing and self-care. And then once we have the self-care in order, we can train and train hard, and it's the consistency over time. It's way better to put like, several hundred solid, good training sessions together week after week, day after day, year after year than it is to train like a banshee, hurt yourself, and then have to take weeks off, and if you do hurt yourself, which comes up time to time, there's no reason to ever stop training. If you hurt your right shoulder, you've got the left shoulder, you got a pair of legs, like you should be able to train around just about everything. You just have to be smart about it. So I'd love to see you in the group. If you're a guy watching this, I have a men's group too, Vitality Brotherhood. Just go to vitalitybrotherhood.com. I'd love to see you in there as well. I'm going to do a video tomorrow on how I approach training for men, particularly over 40, like myself. So if you have any questions, let me know. Let me see if anybody's on Instagram or if anybody's said anything. Doesn't look like anybody's asked any questions on Instagram. So thanks for watching today. I really appreciate you being here. Make sure you get outside today. And I hope to see you in the group. So have a wonderful day.